Hello, guys.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay, there you
Sci-Fi.
are. Hi.
All right. I'm okay. I have a little bronchitis,
Oh, dear.
a little sinus infection, but that too shall pass.
Yes.
I'm going to therapy next week to strengthen my legs. I'm walking a lot without
Great.
the cane.
Good.
Great.
That's incredible. It's freedom. When we go shopping, my attendant and I leave the cane at home and I walk to the store without the cane.
That's
In the
great.
meantime,
Great.
I have two little shadows who go in and out with me, which
Yes.
are making me laugh. But I have a question to ask.
Yes, of
Yes.
course.
I am told, because of my head, I'm having a problem with the computer.
Mm.
And I am told that there is a program where you can do some kind of voice thing and it'll
Yes.
come back and print out. Can anybody help me with that or give me kind of...
David can.
Mr. Bartlett just told us about it.
David is a master at that.
Yes, he told us about it.
Microsoft Word does that.
Microsoft Word, how do I get to that?
Well, you have to buy it.
Oh, okay.
It may be already
You
in
have
your
Microsoft
computer.
Office. I'm sure there are other dictation programs, but it's pretty brilliant. You can literally just start playing a clip on your computer and hit dictation record on Microsoft Word, and it puts it right in there.
Okay, it's not on my computer already?
What?
It may be.
Microsoft Word?
It's possible.
Okay.
It depends on what you're. It depends on what you're.
You have to buy it.
Well,
All
but
right.
yeah, anyway, but it might be there if it was preloaded. But yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So
All right. Now I have another question to
yes,
ask.
yes.
I have to change something in my script
Okay.
because I have it now that it's Russian. We don't want to do that.
No. Nope.
What other country has nuclear power, and what alcoholic beverage would they drink to excess?
France has nuclear power, and they would
Okay,
drink.
there we go.
They would drink champagne.
Yeah, that's good.
Nuclear weapons?
Yeah.
Yeah, China, of course. North Korea,
okay,
of course.
We'll do France. Okay.
Yeah.
Korea, Iran, India, Pakistan, they all have nuclear weapons.
Yes.
France is good because that could be funny.
Yes.
They have nuclear weapons?
Yes. They're a nuclear power.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we could do that. That could be. I could change all that. That'd be funny.
Yes.
Okay.
And they would have to say, fire the missiles.
Yes, they would. They would. That's
No,
great.
Lucifer almost makes a mistake in fire, but it could be funny, especially since I speak French fluently.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's all. I'm
Great.
busy with that script, and I'll hope to hopefully finish it.
Hey,
very
wait,
soon.
wait a
And,
minute. You speak French fluently? Are you sure it's
She
not
does.
with that crazy Canadian accent French?
I do both. I
Canuck.
can do both.
Oh, great.
I can do
That's
both. I
fun.
grew up with a French Canadian, but I can go. I work for the CBC a lot,
Mhm.
so
Yes.
I do a lot of Persian French as well.
Oh, okay.
Great. Terrific. That's great. Well, good. It's good to see you. Anything else, Judith?
No, nothing. I'm just
Great.
happy with the dogs, which you're not getting back, and that's it.
That sounds
And
great.
you're writing like a fiend.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
good for
really
you.
am.
Muscle tough. That's great.
Yay.
My brain is back online, and that's a good thing.
Yes. Congratulations. Yay.
Yay.
Thanks. Yay. Thanks,
Yay.
Judith. Yay. So, Adam, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question yet?
Yes, actually. We have
Uh-huh.
a question from Mark Lungo
Hello, Mark.
already, who wants to know, how would a person like Putin or Hitler be
Mhm.
treated in the Space Command world?
Long dead, I would hope. So, well, yeah.
You kind of have such a person in Great Solar War, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it is the challenge, and it is the issue we're going to be dealing with, which is how you avoid war and without capitulating to a despot. It's a challenge. It's a hard question. It's
The way in
But
which
we'll
it's
see.
basically dealt with in Space Command is that the people surrounding the despot back off.
yes,
And so they're left without their arms and legs, and they have to change.
well,
So
not
if-
literally. There are.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
not
Come on.
literally, but they're
know.
left without the outreach of people jumping too.
Yes.
So they're gotten to in other ways. So that's the way that it's done. They don't have a chance to build up the way that they do in our current day, where they can have fingers of power going very, very wide,
Mhm.
and so because it's not as common, they're able to be curtailed, and ultimately an effort is made to reach them, which is I won't go into that.
But I actually figured out a science fictional way to deal with Hitler, which I came up recently, which is you build a time machine and you go back in time and you have the art academy accept him instead of reject him when he was an aspiring artist. And as a result, he has an art career and not a Hitler career. So that would really have changed the way things went.
Although
So,
I think he still would have been cranky.
Yep. So now, Adam, you're at the top of my screen. So why don't you take your turn?
Sure.
Great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Sartain. I am an actor, a voice actor. I can
Great.
do 78 different voices, accents, and impressions.
Yay.
That's right, folks. Oh, boy. And I'm also an associate producer on Space
Space Command. Yay.
Okay. So this week was pretty eventful. I had a callback of all things. That was crazy. I haven't heard from them recently, so I don't think I got it. But to get a callback, that was
Yes.
something I haven't gotten in a while. So
That's great. Congratulations.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I even told my agent, I can't believe it. And she was like, of course you do. You're talented. You're great. Of course
That's good.
You got a call back. So I also did another episode of 1 Minute History.
Oh,
Great.
Okay.
So look for that coming out soon.
Cool.
It was actually about Ukraine, so it's very timely.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, the Holodomor.
Cool.
Which was basically an engineered famine by Russia against Ukraine.
That's
Oh,
right.
my God,
Interesting.
I know
yeah.
about that. Yes. Terrible. Terrible.
So I did that, and then also still waiting to get paid from the music video I did a couple weeks ago. But supposedly they're going to pay me, so that's nice.
Good.
I would hope.
Yes. Yes. The least they could do.
You know, that was a whole other thing. But and then the podcast, my a new episode is out now with one of the table's newest members, Mr. Henry Laster.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Cool.
Was a 90s Nickelodeon star
Wow.
from
Cool.
Salute Your Shorts and several other Nickelodeon shows.
Great.
So we waxed nostalgic about the golden age of Nickelodeon. And for those of you who don't know, I'm the host of a podcast called Inside Animation. I get inside information about the animation industry, and I will interview anyone and everyone involved, even remotely, with animation. So I do have another episode coming out on Monday, which, of course, I decided to step back and be like, I'm not going to put out an episode every week. Now I'm putting out an episode every week. So I'm getting guests now.
That's great.
So
Congratulations.
But this guy's a professor of animation at CSU Long Beach.
Mhm.
We had a great conversation. That was very informative and very good. So I think that's everything for me.
Wow. Yay.
that's a lot.
Good job.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm helping on Monday with the shoot on Space Command.
Space Command. Yay. So
Yay.
so great. Well, thanks, Adam. Yay, Adam. Is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, we got a Scott Baker question.
Hi, Scott.
Right, bright and early here. There we go. Good to see Scott Baker again.
Yes.
And the question is, which nuclear war aftermath film is your favorite in terms of realism?
The Day After is very, very good, and it did have a substantial effect in convincing Reagan and Gorbachev to denuclearize the arms race. But the real grimmest one, the one that really is astonishing and appalling, is a British one called Threads, and you can find it on some of these providers now. And it is just because the difference is Day After shows the day of a nuclear war and like one day after or whatever, and people dying of radiation and all that stuff. Threads goes for like, I think, years, and it really shows how what it does over time, and it's really harrowing, and it's great. It's really great. I mean, basically when they started to have the arms race, after the bomb stories became a staple of science fiction, both movies, TV shows, and especially books. And so there's a lot of good ones. I mean, you know, plenty, tons and tons. So even A Boy and His Dog is sort of that kind of thing, you know. So, but yeah, I'm at some point I'll do a Mr. Sci-Fi about it, because there's so many of interesting ones. And of course, Twilight Zone, you know, Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith is one of the great after the bomb stories. And so yeah, there's tons of stuff. So great. Let's see. So I guess who's next on the screen? Is it Vel Heike Usi? You gentlemen, sir, take your turn.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost, yes, really Heikki.
Yeah, that was my second guess. Yeah. Where are you located?
I'm calling from Finland.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Hello.
It's 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, how
almost.
staunch.
Wow.
Wow.
So how did you find us? How did you connect?
I was taking part in another group yesterday.
Wow.
For me, yesterday evening. It's Filmmaking group.
Wow.
And there was a lady Janowski,
Bonnie Janowski,
composer.
Yes,
Yes,
Bonnie
Bonnie,
Janowski,
yes.
Who just gave this address.
Well, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
well, welcome, of course. So, who are you, and what are you up to, and what do you need?
I'm a one project man.
Okay.
I'm working with a TV drama series based on the ancient Finnish mythology. You don't know anything about Finnish mythology, but when I say that Tolkien derived a lot from that when doing his even first book, but all other interesting books also, and the Game of the Lord of Rings.
Yes.
So it just happened that I dived there long time ago and find there a system of what I call now a cultural gene pool, which was in its time in thousands years ago. It was before the writing skills arrived to the Nordic countries. It was a question of survival to pass on the knowledge and wisdom in a chain of generations with a symbolic language. And when I found that, and many things nobody else has found from that perspective, so I got my vision and mission, and now is the passion going on to get the TV drama finalized and produced and published.
Great. Well, I mean, the good thing, of course, is that thanks to Netflix, foreign TV series and movies are now popular around the world. So whereas previously, if you did something in Finland, it might only be seen in Finland. Now it can be seen in America and wherever Netflix is. And they're very serious about developing indigenous dramas, you know, in the different countries.
And they're very popular.
Yeah. So there's a television conference that happens in England, and I think it's called the C21 Summit, and all the different, particularly European companies and producers go there to basically meet with the executives from Netflix and all the other networks, Sky and so forth. And so I think you would have a very good chance of making something happen. I mean, I personally believe very strongly in meeting people in person, because that way you can build relationship, you can get to know them, they can get to know you. You know, it's because that way you avoid just being part of the pile of submissions, you know. So, but there's also a television festival in, I think, Berlin. And I think if you just type in television conferences or television executive conferences, a lot of these will come up, or television executive conferences Europe, and you'll find them.
The next one will be in
There,
it's the Series Mania Forum in France. In
yes,
Lille.
that's great. Go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm partner in a booklet made by the Finnish by the Producers Association of Finland.
Yes.
Oh, that's
So
great.
they have 14 projects.
Oh, good.
They present in a booklet, and my series is there as one.
That's great.
One of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, again, you know, it's that's terrific. I mean, if you, an alternative is going there in person and meeting people and setting meetings, but obviously if they're promoting you, that's a good thing too.
But your timing, it seems very good,
Yeah,
given the
yeah.
fair that's out right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Very
success
successful shows
around stories based on folklore, etc. So any other questions? Anything else you need at this stage?
Money.
Yes.
Yes, investors or whatever. I know the hierarchy system in US is very like example for Netflix. You
Yes.
can't knock on each door. You have to have a middleman and the middleman of the middleman to get into doors.
Yes, I mean, they basically like to work with people they trust, and usually the way they build trust is people who've delivered for them. Obviously, if you affiliated with any you know, producer in Finland who has a track record, or you know, someone in the Nordic countries, you know, that would help. But again, you know, I mean, it's just the real thing is to just be very just to persevere, you know, to not be stopped, and just, you know, keep turning over rocks until you find what you need.
Because your project is so interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't already have these kind of alliances, the table can help you find people who will help you develop promotional materials.
Yes, well, the table, this organization is called The Table. Elaine and I started it 29 years ago. It meets every Thursday in person when it isn't a pandemic, and on Zoom when it is. And we have thousands of members around the world, and there's never any cost, there's never any charge or any strings attached. David Bartlett, the fellow in the brown shirt, that guy, can connect you up with the email, the table email, where you can send one email out to all several thousand people, and you can also see what they need and what they're requesting. There's never any requirement to help anyone else. We just encourage people to be helpful to each other. And yeah, so that's some of
because then if you don't already have it, you know, developing visual materials, especially with that kind of
I have already visual materials. I have also a teaser or
oh, good.
That's great.
Oh, and have you written things before, or is this your first project?
This is a life work.
Okay, that's fine.
I've been writing other things before, but in the drama series, this is my first and last, I think so.
Great. Well, that's great. I mean, again, it's a perfect time. And then it's just building affiliations, building teams. You know, the interesting thing is that the money is not as important as the credibility of the team, because Netflix, of course, has money. And but in terms of raising money, you know, there's crowdfunding. There's many different ways of raising money. On Space Command, the project Elaine and I are doing now, we've raised over $3 million from our fans, and that was half of that was through crowdfunding, and the other half was through selling investment shares. But people love stories based on mythology. They love, I mean, just all you have to do is look at the shows that are on, like the Vikings, and
have
you know, all of that
Have
stuff.
you ever considered crowdfunding?
Yeah, I have considered it, and I was almost going in, but then somehow it didn't feel right. Okay, there is in Finland, there is a crowdfunding system also, but it's very small money compared with the work, and so I would need a team who would work for the crowdfunding. because I don't have a team. I
Right.
have some associated persons and some companies who are interested, but
Yes.
they wait that I serve the table first.
Yes, yes.
So I'm working quite a bit alone.
I understand. Well, I mean,
and with my side persons, but they use the same hands.
Well, the minimally I would say if there's
I'm in different positions.
I understand.
Now I'm giving, as you see, those hanging on the wall.
Yes.
I've been going around and in the different markets.
Yes.
In Europe.
Good.
And I've learned through practical things the system, how it works.
Yes, that's good. That's good. That's
and
what you
I have a network, but I now I'm looking actually for the first strong partner or investor who puts the first money.
Yes.
Because already I have three episode scripts and
good.
And the first season, all 12 times 55 minutes, all synopses. So alone, it's not an idea to do more.
Yes.
Just to build the needed team for that.
And how much money would that first investor need to put in? Do you have an amount in mind?
That's a good question. But I think as much that the next one will also put money. So I could imagine that it could be $500,000, like that. So it's enough for the next also to become interested.
I understand. And what are they? What kind of money is what is money called in Finland? It's not kroner, is it? It's what?
I know in Finland we have the euros.
Oh, you of course, because of the European. Yeah. Oh, so that makes it easier. Okay, good. Well, you're doing the right things. I mean, you're educating yourself. You're the more you can think of who would be a good partner, who would be interested in this material. See, one of the great things is as they do various mythologies, they kind of wear them out. So in other words, they've done the Vikings a lot. They've done the Greek.
Yeah, this is pre-Viking time.
Yeah.
And in the core of the story.
Yes.
Or let's say the mission part of the story is man's relation to nature.
Yes.
And that's of course the hottest potato in the world.
Yes.
Today.
Well, no, I think it's a great.
And that question about being in tune with nature.
Yes.
Was the question of survival in this Nordic climate.
Yeah.
In the time before writing skills game or still is.
And one other person I would urge you, if you see him speaking anywhere that you can afford to get to, is Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is it's Neil Neil and the last name is Gaiman. Gaiman. He's a British writer, and he's written a number of books, and he's had a lot of television series on, but particularly he recently wrote a book about Norse myths. And while he might not want to partner with you, he might be interested in guiding you in the right direction. So we would have to go to some event he's appearing at or some where he's doing a signing, but he is, in Europe a lot, and very nice guy. And but if you just look him up online, he's fast. And another person who's been doing books about mythology, and I think also the Norse mythology, is a British guy named Stephen Fry. And again, it's Stephen, and then it's Fry, Stephen Fry, and he does television as well. So again, it's just seeing where the right connection might be made. But definitely, I know that both of them are interested in Norse mythology, and they would probably be very interested in what you're doing. So that would be a starting point. There's also, if you look at Neil did a show called American Gods, and there was a British producer on it, and I know that guy does a lot of other projects too. And I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I think it's Peter something or other. But if you just look at the credits on American Gods, you might find the production company, and they might be worth reaching out to. So that would be some ideas.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Well, welcome. 3 cheers.
Information.
Yeah. No, great. Well, you're very welcome, and we're happy to be of help. So, and by the way, for those who are new to the table, we do a simulcast with my YouTube channel, Mr. Sci-Fi. So and we alternate between the table members taking their turn and the Mr. Sci-Fi people asking questions. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Our next question is from Kevin Scott 76.
Great.
And he wants to know if you've written characters that are disabled, but not as a cliche, just something they have to live with, and it's not a big deal.
Yes. But gosh, I know I have, and I don't remember where. I mean, I wrote for the Littles, I wrote, something about a character in a wheelchair, and also for Beyond Reality, I wrote something about a guy who was quadriplegic. One of the table members was Jim Troche, who was a quadriplegic writer, actor, producer, director, who was one of the Dear table members, very, very dearly missed. And but yes, we have written disabled characters and are eager to write more people with different abilities, let us say. But the challenge with that, of course, is if you're writing something set in the future, then that becomes a question, because they're already doing very, very promising research on spinal injuries now, and 200 or 300 years in the future, they may not have that same problem of paralysis, paraplegia and quadriplegia that we have now. So if you choose a disability or a different ability, you just want to make sure that it's consistent with the technology that you're presenting. So that's the only issue. So let's see. So I guess Dave, you're next on my screen.
Mr. Dave.
Oh wait, David Bartlett wants to take his turn. David
Yes, okay.
Bartlett wants to rob you of your turn, Dave. So yeah, go for it, David.
Yeah, I have to go soon. So hi
Okay.
everyone, this is David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker. I am a human rights activist and a what else am I? A teacher and a producer on Space Command.
Yay.
So Space Command is turning the corner in the tunnel. It has light. It's on its way. We're gonna keep it that way. I just got delivered all the sound effects and sound design tracks for the episode 102, which is cool. And that's great. My career started with my first film when I was 10 in a barn on my parents' property, which I have now inherited from my brother and sister. So I'm going to make a film there in the same barn. So that'll be fun. It'll be very nostalgic and hopefully cathartic and fun. So I'll be going up to do that little shoot one of these days. But first, the career part also extends into Space Command. So I worked with Jim Cameron when he was building sets at New World Pictures. And my first advisor was Robert Wise, who did West Side Story and The Sound of Music and was the editor of Citizen Kane, which is pretty cool. And so I was making a list of all the people that I'd made thriller films with. And it's like William Friedkin and Catherine Bigelow and Quentin Tarantino. And it was Toby Hooper. It's kind of a cool list. So I realized I worked on Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall and Predator 2. And they're all one way or another kind of thriller kind of movies. I've done some research recently online about horror films and thrillers and suspense films, because I like suspense films quite a bit. I'm not a big fan of horror films.
No.
But, the difference between the two is interesting and what people say about that. So it's been another little extension of my favorite thing to do, which is research.
Yeah.
I love research. I love studying things. I love Google. If I would have had Google when I was a teenager, I never would have left my bedroom. I mean, it was just, it's so filled with information you can find. I just love it. People say, I don't know where I can find blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? So Google search it, get specific. What was that I found yesterday? Yeah. I asked Siri, what was the original theatrical release aspect ratio of Full Metal Jacket? And 2 seconds later, I found this on the internet, and she has this Irish accent, and she rattles off the whole thing again, and there it is.
Mhm.
The exact answer. I'm like, this
Wow.
is crazy.
Mhm.
So she's my friend. Anyway, so I worked on a bunch of very expensive big budget movies, and I worked on a bunch of independent low budget movies on my own, and I now have 69 film festival awards.
Wow, that's
which is
great.
fun. I only have about 25% of them up on my wall right now.
Mhm.
And some of them, you know, they give the filmmaker one award, and I'll be with someone, and then I don't get the award. I have to buy a duplicate, and some of these duplicates are pretty expensive. So I'm going to catch up on some of those, trickle away maybe once a month or once every 2 months, and start collecting up some of these physical awards, which are really fun. Here's one I got. Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Not too long ago, from the Burbank Film Festival.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty.
Nice.
Faith-based feature.
Wow.
That's pretty fun.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Good job. Jeff Rector, a table member, artistic director of Burbank Film Festival. This is his doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, as far as Spaceman goes, there are sets being built,
Mhm.
some as we speak, basically.
Yes.
For shoots that are coming up, we're going to have 2 shoots here shortly. If anybody wants to be involved with that as a paid employee or a volunteer,
Mhm.
I can help arrange with that. You can reach me on my email, which is also for those in the Mr. Sci-Fi world, davefilms, DAVEFILMS @hotmail.com. And I'm also putting it in the chat. And on top of that, I also do the table email.
Mhm.
So if you want to join the table email or you're having troubles with it, you can let me know and I'll help you get set up or sorted out. And again, my email for that is davefilms@hotmail.com. I put it in the chat as well. If you are going to join the table email, you must have an email that has your first and last name in it, full first and last name, not nicknames or initials or whatever. And it cannot be Yahoo. Yahoo is red flagged by our security for whatever reason. So we don't do Yahoo. So if your name is ThaneAllison@gmail.com, perfect. That's like get Thane's attention there for a second just for fun. So Thane's been helping us as Spaceman quite a bit. He gave us a whole bunch of wood, and he's always out there thinking of things, and it's been great.
That's
so
great.
there's
Thanks.
a lot of people on here that have helped with Space Command.
Yes.
It's been, you know, besides the those of us that are stuck, like Dave Edison and me.
Yes. Caught in the web.
Yeah, we have Michelle Hart has helped us. Judith Smiley has helped us. I mean, like one time we had to move many sets from one storage space to another, and the 3 of those volunteers that day were Judith and Michelle and Elaine.
Wow.
These guys were there. They busted their ass, and it was, you know, very helpful. So, you know, thank you for that. Anyway, that's
You
kind
might,
of
you might want to give the short definition of what Space Command is to our friend from Finland.
Sure. That's, you know, I'll give him mine. It is a TV series of science fiction that is patterned spiritually after the original Star Trek series, which is a peaceful, ongoing force that makes sure that things stay peaceful rather than a war-going force that is like an army.
Mm-hmm.
Although it looks pretty darn military, it's not really.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the general
idea
vibe of the thing.
Sure.
It follows along with aliens and other species and other life forms. There is a synthetic created by humans that, you know, do they have a soul is one of the themes of the first episode, the 1st and 2nd episodes. You know, should they be allowed to be on their own and all that sort of thing. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more storylines, and there's a woman who never dies. And then there's a character who let me see. You know, I'm gonna let Mark take that.
Yes.
Mark and Elaine, because they really can tell you exactly what they want you to hear about the show. But
it's the best show ever.
Online, there is a 1-hour pilot on YouTube right now, which you can watch, and you'll get a very clear example of the answer to that question.
Of what it is. Yes, agreed.
So that's kind of it for me.
Yay! Good job. Good job. So, yeah, David's been doing great work with the color and sound and all sorts of stuff. And we cannot wait to have the first 2 hours ready to ship. It's getting very, very close. And also Dave Edison has agreed to finally be do an on-camera cameo on Monday's episode that we're shooting at a departure lounge on a space station. And many of the characters in Space Command I name after famous science fiction writers. So I'm building Dave's identity pass. And so here it is, multi-pass for Murray Leinster. Okay, Murray Leinster was a very famous science fiction writer of the day. And I'll show the Mr. Sci-Fi friends. So this is when I'm working on the multi-pass, which of course is...
You decided to go with that picture after.
Yes, yes, it's a little more like business-like, and we all have passport photos that look like how we used to look a few years ago. And but Murray Leinster just seems like a perfect name to give you, Dave, as a character. And so we have to make sure, David Bartlett, that we get that on IMDb after we shoot, because that will be wonderful. And so there you go. Interestingly enough, the real Murray Leinster was a pen name, and his real name, of all things, was Will Jenkins. And so it's possible they maybe chose a Jewish pen name because many of the science fiction editors of the time were Jewish, and that might have been a way to kind of help increase his sales, possibly. So interesting question. So great, but yay, David Bartlett!
Oh,
3 cheers. Oh, there it is,
wow.
Murray Leinster. There it is, the hot
Okay.
spot. Yes.
Okay.
Wow, Land of the Giants. Yes, Murray Leinster.
Okay.
And actually, a very interesting other little tidbit is that a young man, a teenager, was reading a Murray Leinster novel, and it was so bad, he threw it across the room, and he thought, I can write a better novel than that. So he sat down to start writing a novel, and that was Stephen King. So there you go. So, okay, great. Yes. So,
Michelle, you have your hand up?
Yes.
I always thought Murray Leinster picked his name because he was one who wrote lines, like a jokester makes jokes, a Leinster writes lines.
No, that's a cute origin story, but I don't think that's the reason. So is there Mr. Sci-Fi questions? I sort of have been doing one just now, but
yes.
Yeah, but
yes, we have a question from Hayes494.
Okay, great.
Who says, have you watched new episodes of Picard or Prodigy?
I've been trying to, yes, I did. I started to watch Prodigy, which I think is pretty fun. And I watched season 1 of Picard. Now I'm trying to watch the first episode of season 2, which I'm finding incredibly difficult to get through. It's sort of like, I don't know who these characters are. I don't like them. They're doing all sorts of stuff that's just kind of loathsome. I mean, they have a character on a Federation ship, like a captain smoking a cigar. I mean, cigarette companies wanted to sponsor the original Star Trek, and Roddenberry said no. And it was a very conscious decision not to have smoking in the Star Trek universe. And so to have a guy holding a cigar and lighting up, it's just
on active duty.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know who these people are. I don't know why I should care about these people. Picard is, I mean, I like Patrick Stewart, but he's like, 80. And so it's kind of like he doesn't have the oomph that he once did. And I just, I'm not a fan yet of that show. I love Jerry Ryan. I think she's great. I wish that show were just her being a, intergalactic bounty hunter, but c'est la vie. So, okay, great. So now, Dave, it is your turn. Go for it, Dave.
Well, hi, everyone. Dave Edison here. Yes, editor of Space Command and soon-to-be background actor.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
With my agent, if we can find one. Anyway, I'm looking off. I'm looking off camera here because I'm working on some graphics for that shoot on Monday. We're going to have some at this interplanetary space travel departure lounge. There's going to be some screens playing advertisements for their tours.
Yes.
Excuse me, for their tours in the background. So I'm working on one of those right now. And let's see, we've done a bunch of notes that I've sent to you on a new version of the second hour today.
Yes.
Yay.
Excellent.
Lots of bits and pieces coming from different directions. We'll work on the credit sometime before we actually release this thing. We pretty much got the DVD and Blu-ray extras done.
Yes.
Mostly thanks to Marco Gushowitz, who is not here yet this evening. And just moving along.
That's great.
Other than that, I'm sitting here drinking celery juice, and I can't give you a reason. You know what this stuff tastes like? It's just kind of like celery. Anyway, that's I guess about it for me. If you need anything, you know where to find me.
Yay! 3 cheers, Dave. Okay, cool. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have another question from Mark Lungo.
Sure, you bet.
Speaking of the Space Command world,
Yes.
Do nuclear weapons still exist in the Space Command world?
It's an interesting question. I mean, sort of, kind of, but they'd be very outmoded. I mean, you know, there are much more powerful things than nuclear weapons to be had out there when you start to really get into, you know, cosmic forces. So, you know, it's sort of like I'm not having anyone using atom bombs or any of that kind of stuff. It just seems like how quaint, you know. So, so that's my thought about that. So I guess Tori Terranova, if you're around, do you want to take? Oh, actually, before we do that, we should do Michelle, because you're well, let's do Michelle and then we'll do you, Tori. So Michelle, go for it. Oh, remember to unmute. Yep.
Oh.
There you go.
It has not been a spectacular week. I'm still kind of avoiding doing terribly much because I'm still coughing from the stupid cold. I did do an audition piece, and I kind of shout out to Tom Katzis, because he referred me to 2 places that take auditions for one professionally and read with you and so forth. Adam has been very helpful, but Adam is not always there. And he does not do this as a matter of profession, and there are people who do. And so that was fine. And I guess I'll put this out on the table email. I'm interested to know whether anybody has done a series of courses or reels or whatever you want to call them by a woman named Wendy Braun, Braun. She said some really interesting things, and in a situation where everybody and their grandmother thinks they can teach. She's really got some interesting stuff to offer, and I was very impressed. And she did a freebie a number of months ago, and I was impressed. And she did a freebie a few days ago, and I was impressed enough to cough up some money.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not acting lessons; it's attitudinal lessons, for lack of a better phrase.
Great.
And I'm interested to know whether anybody else is doing that. Other than that, I've got another audition thing that I've got to prepare, and it's the script is full of things that are illogical, which just in the opening scene that I'm supposed to use to audition with, to the point where I actually sought out what I hope is a contact number for the writer, director, producers, all those different hyphenates, and said, "What does this mean?" And I've never done that before with anybody, except if I was live in an audition room where people say, "Do you have any questions?" And then I only try to ask a question that's genuinely pertinent. I don't do those "what's my motivation" kind of questions. But this had some stuff that, there's supposed to be one other person in the room, and the third person is an invisible ghost, and the first person refers to somebody else as "you kids." And seeing the ghost, or are there other people that they didn't establish in the room, and if so, who are they? And I couldn't make head or tail of it, and so I'll be interested to see if I get a note back from this person.
Great. So
this is the problem with having spent a lot of years living with writers.
Yes, of course. So is there anything else you need, Michelle? Anything we can do to be of help?
Just work.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun having you and Adam the other day on the Space Command set doing that background scene. It was fun. It was really fun. It was great to have you there.
So they're
So
sort of half background people because we focus
yeah,
on them a couple of times.
yeah, and and again, it's just we're going to be shooting a lot over the next year, and so there'll be a lot of opportunities. So great. So yay, Michelle
Yay.
Hart, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. So so Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have another one from Hayes 494.
Yes, great.
Who says he's asked this question in the past, but I guess maybe we didn't get to it or something.
Yeah.
He wants to know, will you touch upon the issues of mental health in Space Command? And I
Yes, yes. I mean, particularly my
have an
own.
answer for that.
Yeah, particularly mine. Yes. I mean, we don't tend to make people villains. We tend to deal with emotional scars. We tend to deal with people at cross purposes. It's if the assumption that we are the good guys and the whoever we're against is the bad guy can be a really treacherous slope. And so I'm much more interested in exploring personal responsibility, compassion, those kind of issues, and if there is a way to heal wounds, emotional wounds. And so that's of great interest to me. We won't really probably be dealing with extreme mental illness like schizophrenia, those kind of things, but you never know. I mean, in Magic Time, one of the main characters is rather hallucinatory and bipolar and so forth. So there's it always becomes, what does the story need, and then you just do what the story needs. So yeah, there we go. So great. So now it is your turn, Tori. Go for it, please.
Meeting. Hello.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Hi. This is my first time. My friend Rick Reynolds.
Yes.
Oh yes, he
referred
mentioned it.
me.
Yeah.
Yes.
He suggested I should talk to you guys.
You bet.
I'm still trying to get an understanding of the scope of exactly what you guys cover.
Yeah, us too. And
well, it's artists. A long time ago, it's like artists helping artists,
yeah.
rather than being competitive or having a handout.
Yeah.
We decided to create a group of not just writers where we'd be like going into a hissy fit with each other.
No, yeah.
But people
Cat
who
fights and lawsuits.
who are involved in all sorts of storytelling, including book writing, and it's artists helping artists the way you sort of wanted Hollywood to be.
Yeah.
And never with a handout. There are no fees. I mean, if you have a project.
Just to put it in perspective, Elaine and I are writer, producer, directors. We've been professional writers. I've been a professional writer since I was 19. Elaine and I have been together 45 years and married 44. We have our own studio now. And 29 years ago, we were appalled at the arrogance and insensitivity and cruelty of Hollywood and the unnecessary just the egos and the how corrosive the industry was. And so we started a roundtable where everyone was welcome. There was no judgment of who's deserving. People could be Oscar winners or just starting out. Everyone was treated with equal respect and equal kindness. And it was simply to create a community that would be mutually supportive. And so that was why we don't charge membership dues. That's why we, it's been successful, and it's grown to thousands of people around the world because there's no requirements other than being positive, being helpful, being and applauding people for the efforts. And it's thrived and it's grown.
So you could say anything from, does anyone know a very good acting class, to I'm trying to figure out how to get an agent,
or I'm struggling with this editing program and how does it work?
And so if there's no answer at this, you get put on the email.
And you can send one email out to all several thousand people,
and they come up with answers.
People
And so, I mean, people do hire each other for money, but the actual table is just advice, support.
Right.
Like somebody was getting really down in the dumps, a very good playwright, and they just came and everybody jumped in, and he was like ready to give up, and everybody jumped in because he was a very talented playwright. Everyone was saying, "Keep going, you're wonderful, you're this, you're that." Next week, he'd sold a play, and so it can be anything from just that kind of support to accountability partners to hey, send me your reel, which we do a lot. Send me your reel. We'd like to see what you can do.
Yep. So tell us about yourself and what you're up to and what you need.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So I have a background as an actor. so I still act, but I primarily right now, speaking of self-tapes, I run a self-taping company.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
So I run the top self-taping company in the Valley, Disc Tape the Studio.
Great.
And I love doing it, but I'm at the point that I want to expand beyond doing self-tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking I'm wanting to start, because I direct actors every day, and I love that side, but I realized I want to learn to direct for real.
Yes.
And I need to learn how to direct for camera.
Yes.
And
Good.
in a less controlled environment.
Yes. Yes.
And I think I want to start expanding my business slowly and start with being able to film corporate style interview videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some equipment, but I'm looking for camera operators
Mm-hmm.
or video producers who have their own equipment that I can work with
Mm-hmm.
to shoot this kind of content together.
Yes.
Because I've already had a few inquiries that I didn't say yes to because I couldn't scramble quite fast enough.
Right.
And I don't want to be in that position again. I want to have those people, and I want to go out and shoot stuff with them now, so we have examples of what we can do.
Yes. Well,
And,
that's a perfect thing to utilize the table email for, because you could put out that kind of request and you'd get a lot of response, and you could then see who seems solid. There's a table member named Xavier that has his own camera equipment and is a really good guy. And there's also Scott Baker, who has, again, his own camera and Steadicam, all sorts of stuff. I mean, there are definitely a lot of people who could be. I mean, I'm sure David Bartlett, who peeled off a few minutes ago, would have suggestions as well. And of course, we have our own studio, Elaine and I. So
because it's working with those that know camera better than me, because
yes.
I'm learning the basics.
Yes.
I know the basics. I know exposure and things like that.
Yeah.
But if I could work with operators that really know what they're doing,
yes.
that I'm very good at sort of just making things happen.
Yes, that's good.
Work with the more technical people.
Yes, and
that would be the ideal.
And if you ever want to come to our studio and observe what we do and how we do it, you'd be welcome. So you know, like we're shooting on Monday, and then we're shooting a few weeks after that, and so forth. And I mean, again, the whole trick with all of this is just find people who are the real deal, and who aren't into all the games and all the bullshit and so forth. You know, it's just finding the people who have the skills and the ability and are just good to work with, fun to work with, positive attitude, all the you know, obvious stuff.
I came from theater, and then I was doing and we did some shooting, and it was like a year of me doing a paper edit and working with good old Dave, our editor, and my head, after a year of editing, it's like my mind clicked away from theater performance into film.
Yes.
And so I started seeing things in shots.
Right.
And so anytime that you can just even look at a piece of film and do a paper edit, if you can't, and use the editing machine, which I can't, and it changes your perception as to how you put something together. And that's what finally got me out of theater and into seeing my story very differently.
Yes.
So also it was helpful because I direct. I'm a popular director with actors. I acted for quite a while, as you know, as you did, and I would sometimes you can just ask actors, what was the worst experience you had with a director? What's the best experience you ever had with a director? And that can be very telling. You start to get a sense of people's sensibilities, the wide range of temperaments that you'll be dealing with. But the main thing is I'm 100% with my actor, and if they're extremely high strung, what I'm asking them to do is to expose raw nerves, right? So I'm extremely supportive of whatever they need, you know, whatever they need.
Yeah, same. I've learned that over the years. I've run this business the last 4 years, so I get to direct actors every day, and I've learned how to do that.
That's great.
Sort of the part therapist, part cheerleader, part all of that. And I love it.
That's great.
And I want to be able to do that in a fictional capacity, that I'm not just cold reading, and I can use that and combine everything.
That's right.
That's
and
great.
So and also there's a book coming out next month you might want to get a copy of. It's called Greenlighting Yourself, and I wrote
Nice
it.
plug, yeah.
And so, yeah, again, I mean, the more one is a self-starter, the more one gets clear as to what one wants to create in the world, the big dream, the big vision, the better. It's
But sometimes
it's
if
not that
you,
hard.
sometimes if you do something a little bit crazy, and it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make, if you write and shoot a scene, or find a scene and shoot it, working with actors, or a short,
Yes.
and you make a few mistakes. Well, there's so many mistakes to make. I certainly made them all. But but the thing is that if instead of reading books, which are fine,
yes,
you shoot it, you have no idea how fast you learn and gain confidence.
Yes.
In actually shooting a scene.
Yes.
I when I was first behind a camera for a little class, and they said, if you're going to go from a close-up to from a distant shot to a close-up, you always have to do at least a 45-degree angle. You re-angle it, and I read it and I read it and I read it, but then I shot and I forgot, and I went from a close-up to a distant shot, and of course all I had to cut together was a horror jump cut, right? I just had that horror jump cut, and I went, well, I don't have the film, because it didn't matter how many times I read it.
Yes.
I still did it.
Right.
And I never did it again.
Right. I mean,
but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was just for class. You know? It didn't. But the thing is that you learn so fast when you try and maneuver with the film you shot, that and I also wrote a beautiful long scene monologue for an actor. Really nice. I labored over it. Very long monologue. And the actor, as I was editing, the actor delivered the first line, which carried everything I had said for the rest of the monologue. And that told me, I guess I'd better shut the heck up.
Yeah,
because the
actors, you cut it down.
I cut it way down. Yeah. That was a big waste of time and poetry.
But an important lesson.
Yes. So, but the thing is, I learned it like fast. When you're just letting yourself play, things that you could read in a book, you learn them like you just look at your film and you go, look what I did. and you learn it really fast. And because it's not space science, but I would very much suggest that anything you want to do, get your hands on it, let it be messy, and it will be fast and fun and furious.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Yay. 3 cheers. And also Adam can connect you up with David Bartlett, and David Bartlett can get you on the table email. And we ask people to come to one meeting in person to get the vibe of the group, which is supportive and positive and all that. Zoom qualifies, and then you can get on the table email and reach out to all several thousand members and all that stuff. So it's
if you check the chat, he put his, I think, like way up at the one of the first chats of the night. He put his email there.
Great. Terrific.
Great.
So yay, 3 cheers. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have a question from Alex Smith.
Great.
Who says,
hi, Alex.
One great show on Netflix is The Last Kingdom.
Yes.
What do you think of it? It's about the Danes in England back in the day.
I've watched only a little of it, so I really can't have much of an opinion. I mean, we also started watching the Vikings. I mean, generally, I tend to like these historical shows. I'm a student of and a fan of history, so I'm constantly reading up on, the Roman Empire and the Greeks and English history and Norse history and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to see so many things that set in different historical eras, and the more accurate, the better, it's very fun. And so, yeah, so let's see, Thane, I guess you're next if you want to go for it.
There we are.
Yeah.
Thane Allison, SAG-AFTRA career director. I got another audition this week, which
cool.
I think that's 4 weeks in a row I've had at least one audition.
Wow.
Oh, great.
That's great.
Like Adam, we're waiting for the callback and
the actor's life.
But at any rate, I've been focused mostly on getting my taxes in hand. And, I'm closer to that point of TurboTax. You put in your income and then you start putting in your expenses. And I'm getting to that point where the amount I owe is zero, and that's making me happier.
That's great.
Good. Good.
Each time you put in something, you think, oh, this is going to drive it down, and it only drives it down 20%, but 20% of what the expense was, but it helps. So we made movies last night. I got off on a rant, and somebody said, "That's your next monologue," ranting about TurboTax and doing your taxes. And so I don't know. I have one that I've written and got the props for. I discovered last year, a year before, last time we could actually go outside for Easter. But I bought my yellow peeps. I allow myself once a year to buy a carton of peeps. I think there's 6 or 8 of them. Being diabetic, I can't ingest them all at once like I would like to, sort of like hot dog eating contest. But at any rate, as I was checking out, I stumbled across the fact that there are purple peeps.
Yes.
Oh my
and
God.
I don't know about you, but peeps are yellow.
Yes. They are indeed.
So I wrote this rant about purple peeps. When I went to get the props, they were all sold out. So apparently other people were seeking to destroy them before they bred and repopulated the world with purple peeps. I'm not sure. But anyway,
or perhaps they were taken by purple peep eaters.
Yes, very probably. Very probable.
We could write a song, right?
You could. You could.
Where's Bonnie? Yeah.
Yeah, when you need her. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's great. So anything else, Thane?
So anyway, chipping away at staying creative and
great.
Dealing with the business of life and looking forward to putting the taxes to bed so I can get back to things like my one-man show and some other projects. But in the meantime, if an audition comes along, I'm ready, and I got the setup now, and I've got the lights, and
wow.
And
great.
There is no such thing as a self-tape, as we talked about before, or a self-tape or disappeared. Any rate, it's always a challenge, and this last one, the partner had one word, and it's like, now who am I going to find to do a one-word response to my tirade? So anyway, onward.
Yay!
Congratulations! Yay!
3 cheers. Good. And Dave Edison, I've been continuing to work on this throughout. So now it has gold braid. If you look, see, it looks really snazzy now. Marie Leinster. So and it's not quite done.
Very apropos.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. Multi-pass.
Okay.
So great. So now is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have another question from Hayes 494.
Sure, you bet. Go for it.
Another one about Picard.
Okay, sure.
Where he says they explore in Picard. They explore Picard's childhood and reveal he came from a household of domestic violence.
Yeah, well, Jesus.
Similar to Stewart's childhood. Do you think Roddenberry would be okay with this?
I don't know. I mean, it's like, when you compare something like Picard with the original Star Trek, the best episodes, and there were a lot of good ones, had a very clear meaning, and it was very, very interesting and very thought-provoking. I find both Star Trek Discovery and Picard filled with what I would call bad craft. It's characters who are not well established. It's storylines that are murky and derivative. It's just all sorts of stuff that is just all over the place. And so for me, and again, I'm always willing to be convinced otherwise, but so far for me, it's just so full of stuff that just doesn't work. And it's sort of like do I really need to see Picard's childhood? Really? I mean, and at the beginning, there's a woman kind of coming on to him and saying, well, you shouldn't be alone, Jean-Luc. And I mean, the guy's 80. If he hasn't gotten his shit together by 80, I mean, come on. I mean, we're all still growing and learning, but these issues have been visited around that character, decades ago. And I would rather have him be less screwed up and more a mentor and a sage to others. And I mean, that's sort of what he was in the original Star Trek, The Next Generation. And he got taken by the Borg, and that screwed with him a lot. But that was, an adventure story, and it worked. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I just wish it were better. So I guess, Carol, you're next on my screen. So
Hi,
go for it.
Carol.
Hi, Elaine. How are you feeling?
Okay. I
She's
sag
on
a
the
little
mend.
bit. I'm on the mend. Get a little tired at this time of night because I don't sleep a hell of a lot. But it's I'm moving forward.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. Congratulations. I'm glad you took care of it.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I'm available for table reads. Yes. A shout out to Ivan Reitman. I did not say that a couple weeks ago, and I found out he passed.
Yes.
He flew me to Toronto to read for Meatballs.
Wow.
A long time ago. He was just so nice. I think I met his son or something. It was so nice. I didn't get it. But, but it was just warm and smart. I'm so sorry that he's not with us. This is for Mr. Yusituba, our wonderful Finnish edition.
Yes.
I was in a movie that went to the Cannes Film Festival, and this is my T-shirt from the Cannes Film Festival. You can see it. I don't know.
No. What does it say?
Yeah, and it was an amazing experience. And then speaking of Europe, this Australian company who put me as their entertainer of the month. I mean, I feel so self-centered, but that's what they did. I got a phone call from Germany, and I'm interviewing with someone for something in Amsterdam. I don't know what she wants. I think an acting thing. I don't know. Amsterdam on Monday. This is so fun. I just wrote back and I said, remember, we have a time change this weekend. So
wow.
I know.
I
So
remember that.
I don't know where that's going to go, but it is. I listened to what you said, Elaine. You said just go with the flow. Yes. Whatever they want from me, whatever they need, I can do. Whatever they want.
Great.
So, but I have a question. It probably is dependent upon the genre. But the inciting incident in a script, does it have to be extreme or dangerous, or could it just plant a seed of something that's about to occur? Or
you can go for it, Elaine.
Well,
it
is an emotional, dramatic. I mean, it doesn't have to be melodrama, but it should prick deeply. If you think of a pinprick, it should prick deeply, because the inciting incident that sets everything, you want to know that everything came from that. So, right. And so again, you don't need melodrama, but
right. But a key question. Finish your point, and then I'll. See, a lot of storylines, you have to ask yourself: is there enough story here to sustain the length? And a lot of stories are under fueled. And so it isn't so much that it be big or small or any of that. It's like you look at the structure of your story and say, does this story work? The whole point is to create a story that's so interesting in one way or another that you'll take the journey. It's and that can be a very subtle storyline, or it can be a very over the top storyline if it works. There's Fellini and there's Ingmar Bergman.
I mean, something that you could look at rather simply is Marty. You set up a very lonely man.
Marty is a TV play and a movie that was done in the 1950s.
Have you seen that with Ernest Borgnine?
Ernest Borgnine.
Ernest Borgnine.
He won the Oscar for it, and the movie won Best Picture. It was written by Patty. It was written by Patty Chayefsky. It's a great piece of work.
So the inciting incident is that he's extremely lonely, is this like a big deal? He goes to a dance and someone is trying to dump a girl, and he thinks that's awful, and he steps in and is a hero. And if you see it, it's subtle, but for the character, given the circumstances, it's profound.
He's an honorable man.
It's profound, and it starts him dreaming that something's possible that he didn't see as possible. And so it starts. It's like a little snowball that starts rolling, but you understand why it's an inciting incident, because up until then he was like going to be a lonely, he was a middle-aged man. He was going to be lonely all his life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be cataclysmic. It just has to move about it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a hook for your characters. It was a pinprick, but it was a deep pinprick given the character.
Yep. So that's it. Yeah. So anything else?
That's all I need. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Yay. 3 cheers. Excellent. Great. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question is another one from Alex Smith. I'm assuming that he's talking about the new Space Command episode. Is the new Space Command going to be released on Amazon, Netflix, or Stan?
We'll find out. We'll find out. It's but the first 2 hours will be available on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital download within a matter of weeks. And so that's fun. And we just keep going. I mean, it's the second issue of the comic has been sent off to the printer, and the novel is being put to bed now. And and the radio play is completed, and the graphic novel is getting done. So it just keeps going. It's we have a lot of storyline here and a lot of great stuff. So it's thrilling. And we've also started talking to Rockne O'Bannon and our cast about shooting the pilot of Sweet Haven, which is one of the other 6 shows that we're doing in the Showrunners Network. So lots to come. So let's see. So I guess, Sydney, you're next on my screen. Can you unmute? There you go. Great.
2 things.
Sure.
One, if I can get some contact information for Joe Scott to get some information about his podcast.
Sure.
And 2, if possible, could I get a brief comment from each of you about the film A Touch of Evil by Orson Welles?
Well, sure. Well, Joe Scott has 2 things he does. Joe Scott does Answers with Joe, which is a podcast, and you can find that on YouTube. And he also does Conversations with Joe, which is, I think, if you just Google Joe Scott, you'll find the links to it. And I just did an interview with him. He interviewed me that was on Conversations with Joe. He's a very bright guy, very interesting guy. And then in terms of Touch of Evil, the great part was that
Mark, I did Google Joe Scott podcast, but I couldn't get any contact information.
You mean how to reach him? You mean
how to reach him? Yes.
He has a website. I think it's joescott.com, something like that.
Okay.
And there'll be a contact thing there. That's and then also in terms of Touch of Evil, the great part was that the studio ignored a lot of Orson Welles' notes, and then film restorers went back and put them all in. It has one of the greatest opening shots of any film ever made. It's a very weird film because you've got Charlton Heston playing a Mexican, but it's still a great film. I mean, Orson Welles is spectacular in it. Marlene Dietrich is terrific. I mean, it's a very, you feel like you want to take a shower after you watch it, but it's really a remarkable piece of work. I mean, Orson Welles was a great director, and that's certainly one of his great films.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely artful, but it is very dark. It's very dark.
Yeah. So there you go. So, but please go ahead.
Else?
Relating to A Touch of Evil? No?
Anybody else in the group who want to make a comment about it?
No.
Not looking like it. Nope.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Sure.
I'm kind of a film noir buff, not as good as Eddie Muller, but I have my own likes and dislikes.
Yes.
And my favorite film noir would be Double Indemnity, followed by Out of the Past and films of that nature.
Yes.
A Third Man is another one.
Yes.
And Orson Welles, to me, is one of the greatest directors. He's up there, the pantheon of directors.
Yes.
But what I found very disturbing is I did not like at all Touch of Evil.
Huh.
And I find that Touch of Evil is on just about every critic's best film noir.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering what's wrong with me. My problems are, number one, as you say, Charlton Heston. That was a turn off immediately. Why did they get Charlton Heston to play a Mexican cop?
Because
two, I thought Dennis Weaver was way over the top. Number three, I thought some of the shots that were, I believe it was a guy by the name of Mehdi who did the photography, were influenced by Orson Welles, but it worked in Citizen Kane, but it didn't work for me in this. So I just wanted to get some other feedback. Am I just way off on this?
Yeah, well, I mean, well, there's two possible answers to that. One is yes, it could be just that you have no taste, but the other, the other more serious answer is we are all of us have a right to our opinion, and someone else's favorite film might be a film that I hate, and there's no right or wrong. It's a subjective opinion. So you know, I don't know if you've ever seen Lady from Shanghai. That's another sort of noir film that Orson Welles did that has some great bits and pieces in it. You know, well, the problem was that Welles, after Citizen Kane, he didn't have autonomy, and so the studios were endlessly screwing with him. I mean, the butchering of Magnificent Ambersons is a prime example, and so I'm certain that had he had his druthers, he would not have cast Charlton Heston as a Mexican detective. That was, I'm sure, the studio's insistence. I don't think Charlton Heston thought he made a credible Mexican himself. You know, but again, where this is back in the studio system, where you know you're under contract, you do what they tell you to do.
But just on an emotional level for myself, that's not a movie. I really like the other movies you named.
Yeah.
And would choose to watch them again and again.
Sure.
I would not choose to watch that movie again and again because it was a very cruel movie.
Yeah.
It's a very cold movie. And just emotionally, it was like, why am I watching this? It's skilled, but why am I watching this? With Double Indemnity, you know, you had the heroic
Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah. And you also
Which sort of gives it a moral compass.
Yes, gives it a moral compass,
Yes.
and you more see it wasn't as dark and just relentlessly cruel. And so, I guess the way that we're kind of soft bunny people, so we go in the other direction. But when I think of somebody who's going to go and watch a film, who is probably underpaid, who is probably struggling with a damaged relative, who's facing all the dark sides of the world, I always think, well, why would they need to see what they're living? Why can't they see us? Why can't you put them back in touch with some of the best as well as the worst of this world? So I don't see that I need to just repeat it without having some sort of insight and some sort of direction of hope and to point out opposite sides of life. Mm-hmm. So
yes,
I would agree with you.
Thank you both for your comments. Thank
you.
Great. Sure. Okay. Yay, Sydney. Great. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question from Juan Suros.
Great. Hi, Juan.
Who wants to know, what will sci-fi on screen look like in 5 years?
It'll probably still be in color. I don't think we're going to go back to silence and black and white. It's not so much what it will look like. It's a matter, the production values are very high now. There was way too much dependence on CG, and some directors, if they have the money, use more practical effects now, which I think is a good thing. It gives stuff much more solidity. I like models, science fiction, physical models of ships. But for me, the basic question always is, well, where are the great stories going to be? Who's going to be making stuff that has meaning and lasting impact? Because so many films and TV shows you see, even if they're good, even if they're well done, don't stay with you. They don't leave an impression, and that's what I'm always looking for, the ones that really stick with me. So yeah. So but the interesting thing is that they are doing a lot of the great classics of science fiction, whether it's Dune or Foundation. Many of these things have been around since the 50s and 60s. They finally have the production capability to make these vast interstellar shows, and that's really interesting. One thing that most people don't understand is the enormous effect of the prose science fiction writers in creating the great TV shows and movies of the last 100 years, perhaps. H.G. Wells with Things to Come, Robert Heinlein with Destination Moon, on and on. It's, Ted Sturgeon and Harlan Ellison and Richard Matheson and Charles Beaumont, and, with Twilight Zone and Star Trek and Outer Limits. And, it's just the good movies and TV shows. They didn't go to the screenwriters who didn't understand anything about science fiction. They went to the science fiction novelists who really were deep thinkers and profound writers, and that's how you got some of the great classics. I mean, now, of course, now Philip K. Dick is having, a renaissance, and Blade Runner, of course, is the great film of his work. So I mean, it's meaningful that they go back to the literature of the genre to create really well-made TV shows and movies. So, okay, let's see. Bonnie, you're next on my screen.
Hi.
Hi,
Sorry, I
Bonnie.
came later today. The next few weeks I'm doing a workshop.
Cool. Cool.
From 4:30 to 6:30, but yeah, and that I forget how you pronounce it, but we're in another group together, so I don't know if he's probably shared already, but I'm
Yes.
And yeah, working on 2 musicals, a short film with this filmmaker that I've done all his films, and because he does want to resume working on another feature that he started before the pandemic. And yeah, just a lot of different projects happening.
It's Andrea.
And I still have
Hello, Andrea.
Ben's project too.
Are you here?
Yeah, just a lot of different music stuff.
Oh, you're on the road?
Anybody needing music, just let me know. I guess,
Is there anything you need, or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, Lions of Women. Let's see. Yeah, Lions of Women film composers are doing articles on some of their members, so I'm going to be interviewed on that.
Oh, cool.
Coming up, and yep. I guess. Anyway, there's a lot of musical stuff as usual. So I guess that's it.
That's it. Okay. Well, welcome. Yay.
Yeah.
Welcome. Okay. Mark stepped away for just a moment in terms of Mr. Sci-Fi to take a call. We've got somebody picking some stuff up, so he'll be back in a moment. So let's go on to Galinda.
Hey, hello. Running a little late today. I got off of work and I was in a big debate on whether I needed a shower or a nap. The nap won first. But they were both necessary today. It's been a long week at work, but nothing interesting or new happening there. I love bringing up discussion about movies, books, television, that a lot of people will like something, but and then there'll be people who don't, and it doesn't have anything to do with whether it's good or bad. It's like we all have our own triggers and our own experiences that we bring to it. And what I like to see is when that opens up discussions where people can say, well, yeah, this is what bugged me about it, because that's therapeutic for those triggers that you may have that you don't like. Things that you didn't like about it, someone else may not. It may help someone else understand, and also bring you into understanding their things. It's like I am not a fan of Romeo and Juliet in any form whatsoever. I've never cared for the play. I don't like the story.
Not even zombies.
Well, okay, I haven't seen a zombie Romeo and Juliet, Adam, so I will definitely have to check out.
It's called Warm Bodies.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Check that out. But it's not because it's a tragedy, because I love Hamlet. I'm crazy about Hamlet. I love the story. I love how it plays out, and all the intricacies and everything. So apparently Romeo and Juliet has triggers for me that that Hamlet doesn't have. And then first getting to Midsummer Night's Dream, and I'm ready to throw it out and party. I don't care who's playing what. That's like my favorite.
Cool.
I've never been a big fan of West Side Story.
Yeah.
But
Well.
on Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. We that was what my friend chose. Yeah, that's what our friend chose our movie watch, was the new West Side Story. And I was amazed at how almost identical it was to the 60s one, and how little I still liked it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But the music is good and everything, and the acting was great, and there wasn't anything really bad about it. It's just I didn't care for the story itself. It's never been something I love very much. But,
Yes.
But that's where I want to see us get. Human beings have, at least in our culture, become very reactive these days. And if someone doesn't like the same things you do, that's something wrong with them, instead of being
right.
glorious. Hey, I like avocados. You may not. Well, that's
Yes.
not avocados for me at the dinner table.
Right.
I don't have a problem with someone not liking something I like or liking something I don't like.
Yes, that's fine. And yeah, and it really makes life a lot more pleasant if you don't always need to be right in capitals. It's like,
Yes.
it's so nice.
I love debate.
Yeah.
And I used to, as a teenager, I would jump into any discussion with, whatever arguments I had to present. And
Yeah.
people would get so upset with me. I'm like, but I'm not trying to prove you wrong.
Yes.
I'm trying to learn.
Yes.
From it.
Well, also for me, the always the bottom line question is about any action or any person is, are they kind? Is this action kind? Is it compassionate? It's like that really helps a lot. Because then it's not about like ideology. It's simply about, well, is this making someone's life better? Is it giving people, a feeling, safety, food, clothing. What people need. It's just, we all need compassion. It's a very clear line of delineation. And, so yeah. So anything you need, Galinda? Anything we can do to be of help?
At the moment, no. I just rented my U-Haul for what'll hopefully be my last trip, moving my stuff out here.
Yes.
And getting myself in gear. I'll have my spacesuits handy.
Great.
And I have some things I want to start do some test shots to film.
Cool.
And I'm gonna want to put those up maybe on Facebook to to show off a little bit what I've got in mind.
Good.
And then I'm gonna have to start listing out lots and lots of questions I have to ask.
Cool.
Like, if I do a YouTube interview with somebody, what are the parameters for that kind of thing. I got a lot, but I got to write them all down because it's big,
Yeah.
Show, being creative, doing something creative, and especially if you want to be collaborative with other people, which of course I do.
Yes. Yes.
There's all kinds of complications and what we used to call model things. It's like somebody did photography. They wanted me to sign something that says, "Yeah, it's okay to put your name on this and put me out there in the world."
Yes.
So there's a lot of details that a lot of people don't realize are there, and things that I know but I haven't remembered until recently. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to think of all this stuff. And
yeah, but remember, just ask people who know. Because a lot of people ask people who don't know, and those people guess, and their guesses are wrong. And I'll tell you something interesting about releases, just to let you know, in terms of interviewing people. It used to be that if you interviewed someone, you had to get a release so that you could use the interview. That has changed. And now the basic legality of it is they should know in agreeing to an interview that you are going to disseminate it. And unless they specifically get a signed document from you stating a limitation, there is no limitation. Okay, that's the interesting thing about that. Now that differs from if you're filming them or whatever. There's, each medium and each purpose has a different set of rules, but that's totally different. And also, it was very interesting when I wrote the Twilight Zone Companion, when I was in my 20s. Bantam said, well, every photograph in the book get releases of every person pictured. Well, if it was a crowd scene or there were, background performers, it was impossible. So I didn't know what to do. So I contacted a friend of mine, Leonard Malton, and I said, what should I do? And he said, ignore it. He said, I've never gotten signed releases for any photograph I've ever used in any book I've ever done. And no one has ever said word one. No one has ever come to me with a complaint. So it's like, okay. And that's what I did. And it worked perfectly. So, so again, you just have to make sure that you're, getting the right advice.
Yes.
So, yeah.
As you say, when I start from a basis of being kind, then
yes.
I'm going to communicate clearly with everybody.
Yeah.
So all the expectations are clear.
Yes, exactly.
And in the crazy event that I end up making any money on this, I want to be sure that everybody involved gets their piece of that pie.
Yeah, sure. And or you can just make them pie. That cuts the chase, doesn't it? So okay, great. Anything else, Galinda?
No, that was it. It's great to see everybody.
You too. Yay! 3 cheers. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question from Bob.
Great.
Rich.
Hi, Bob.
Wants to know, what are movies and TV shows that you had little expectations for going in, but ended up really impressing you with their high quality and enjoyability?
Now, I don't know if Bob's asking regarding shows I've watched or shows I've made, because what I always did with any show I was on is I would always try to come up with storylines I hadn't seen before that had a profound emotional truth from my heart that I could communicate. And so Friday the 13th series, I was able to do that with an episode I wrote called Pipe Dream, and many people liked an episode I wrote called Scarecrow. Sliders, I was certainly able to do that with. Every show is an opportunity. The only shows that I had problems with were where either there was someone really lunk-headed making artistic decisions. For instance, Tech War was a great example of that, where it was like, oh man, why did you choose that wardrobe? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Or Space Precinct, which is another. I mean, I enjoyed writing Space Precinct, by the way, and Tech War for that matter, but I just felt that often the way they were executed was not as, there were missed opportunities. But in terms of TV shows I've watched, I liked Station 11 recently. There's many shows. Part of the fascinating thing is that particularly with science fiction, you can't tell by the title if it's going to be of quality or not of quality. It tends to, so Station 11 was really good. Other shows have been disappointing, you take your chances and you just see what resonates with you, but it's definitely, there's many opportunities to find quality. And by the way, any work that you take on, you should be the one who's striving for quality. It's not about what's the quality here when I come in on it. It's how can I elevate it to what I want it to be. And and that doesn't mean violating the intent of the show. So for instance, on Friday the 13th, the series, you knew it was going to be scary. And so, that was fine with me. I love good horror, Haunting of Hill House and so forth. But I just wanted to also make it speak from my experience and my voice, and do something more than that too. So there you go. So let's see. So where are we? Oh, Ben and Emily, it's your turn. Go for it.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Great.
Zach, I just got a brainstorm idea for the table. I'm not going to speak about it because somebody else would eat my lunch. I'm going to tell it to you privately.
Okay.
But then I just sitting watching it. What happened is, you guys are all into the movie. We're into music, but you guys are so enthused about what you're doing. It just makes my heart beat fast. So I'm going to tell it to Bunny. Secretly, she and I.
Great.
But I don't even know about it. I just got it hearing you talk.
Cool.
I'll tell you on the telephone.
Great. That sounds great. That sounds great.
My heart is beating, man.
Good. Well, Pat. Yeah.
Guys, it's always good to see you.
Thanks. You too. Anything else?
WonderCon is also next month.
Is it?
Okay.
I think I'm supposed to be there. So good. It's it's really fun. But I mean, but the whole thing about passion and enthusiasm. I mean, that's the whole point of being in the arts. Anyone who's like a cynic or toxic or low energy. I mean, why? My God, you're in the candy store. Find the candy that you love. I mean, share it with others who love the same thing. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity. So
Yes.
and I'm sure as well as I do that enthusiasm is contagious. If you come with a good energy and a good passion and artistry, other people respond. So it's great. It's great. So thank you for that, Ben. I appreciate it. So anything else you guys need?
No, we're okay right now. But I'll keep you posted next week to where me and Bunny are. But man,
Great.
This has been a great night for me. When I tell you about it, man, I feel good.
Great.
That's
Well,
great.
thank you. Good to see you guys. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question from Kevin Scott 76.
Great. Hi, Kevin.
This is a very interesting question.
Good.
Have you guys ever woken up from a vivid dream and grabbed paper and pen and wrote down a story as soon as you could before it leaves your memory?
You have.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. But I once had an extremely vivid dream that was very scary, and it built and built and built, and then I woke up. And I made the mistake of telling somebody else about it. And they said,
how does it end?
How does it end? Well, what happened then? And I said, I don't know. I woke up and they got so mad at me that I didn't tell anybody else the dream.
Yes. I mean, I have dreams, bits and pieces. I mean, at one point when I was in college, I started writing my dreams every morning so I would be able to remember them. But the problem was it got so time consuming because the more you write down your dreams, the more you tend to remember. And recently I was reading through one of those books, and the people that I reference from my dreams, I don't remember who they are. because there are people I knew at the time. And but dreams can be a very powerful source of insight. And there's, often I'll write, in my writing, I'll have moments that are dream-like or have a dream logic to them. There's certain things that are really cool in dreams, like where you suddenly, a character becomes another character, and you don't really recognize that in the dream. It's only as you wake up and you think, oh, well, that person started out as David Bartlett and then morphed into Robert Mitchum or whatever, and
The worst is when somebody offends you horribly
yes,
in a dream, and you wake up and you're mad at that person, but they did nothing.
in reality, yes. So you can't take it out on them.
Yes.
Or sometimes you wake up from a dream and you think, am I mad at that person in the real world or in a dream? And you have to like really sort that out. So that's fun. But yeah, but dreams are a very powerful source, and many dreams have formed great bases for famous stories. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the core of that was a dream that Robert Louis Stevenson had, and that's an incredibly powerful piece of work. So let's see. So Ian, you're next. Go for it, Ian.
Hey, Mark.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
I actually, do have a sci-fi question. I want to tell you what's going on with me.
Sure.
What is it with good science fiction that loses its way, like Star Trek, Star Wars? I mean, I still enjoy those IPs and the stories, and I still watch them, and I still get involved.
Yeah.
But it just seems to lose its way, and it seems to like derail.
Yes, it's true.
And it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Well, because there's two different purposes for any science fiction IP and intellectual property. For the studio, it generates billions of dollars, both in terms of the box office receipts or subscription rentals, to ancillary, to all the products and toys and all that stuff. And so for them, they just want to keep creating content. They don't care if it has meaning. They just want it to keep, generating money. On the other hand, for writers, if they're worth anything, they want it to have a meaning. They want it to, but the problem is that the more subversive the meaning, the more risk averse the studios and the networks are going to be. So to actually have meaning, to actually say something, can be very, very, edgy. And so if you look at some of the the original Star Trek episodes, like City on the Edge of Forever, they're very, very subversive in their way. And Star Wars, again, the thing that was great about Star Wars at the beginning was that it took all the stuff we'd been reading about in science fiction novels, but never seeing in a movie, and put them in a movie, like the land speeder and the cantina with all the aliens and all that stuff. And the problem is that either the new generation has different writers, and then those writers don't have a handle on what they're doing, or alternative, like George Lucas, he ended up, going from being a young, talented filmmaker when he made the first Star Wars film to being a guy overseeing a billions of dollars empire. And so he shouldn't have written those 3 prequels himself. He should have gotten real writers to write them, because the idea, the structure of that story was extremely viable. And then the problems with the more recent ones have been, it's people who grew up with Star Wars and they love Star Wars, but they're not able to really come to it with something exciting, and so there's a million reasons why something fails, but the miracle is when anything succeeds, really, and but definitely science fiction needs a visionary at the top. I mean, whether it's Rod Serling or Gene Roddenberry or Joe Stefano and those guys on Outer Limits, or whomever, Neil Gaiman, you need somebody who's got a vision. And if you don't have that, you've got a problem, and frequently,
It's interesting. There was a very, very, very popular comedy, The Dick Van Dyke Show, and it wasn't science fiction. But the thing is that they planned it out for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And then they stopped, and they said, "Wait, you're still getting high numbers." And the reason it was closed out by Carl Reiner was he said there's going to be 3 seasons and out, because then you're going to start repeating yourself and it's going to start to thin. And he said there are 3 seasons worth, and then it stopped.
Yes.
And I think sometimes they just, you've done the core idea, and it's like there's miniseries now, but sometimes they're worth 6, sometimes they're worth 13. But then sometimes they just start draining it for the money, and it's very sad.
And again, it's not for me to say something shouldn't be made, but it's definitely, I mean, I don't envy J.J. Abrams having to resuscitate Star Trek and Star Wars, because he's stepping right into the crosshairs, and I thought he did a good job with Star Trek, less so with Star Wars, but them's the breaks. So anything else, Ian? Anything did you want to check in with what's going on with you?
Well, I'm going to be shooting a short, I think,
Cool.
on Saturday.
Yay.
It's a thing I told you about last week. It's a science, it's a fantasy thing,
cool.
And it has some weird science elements to it. I have an alchemist that has this glove that shoots electricity and stuff. So it's
Sure.
going to be fun.
Yeah, great.
And we're going to be shooting it in a small studio in Menifee, and it's
Wow.
I'm really excited to do it. Can't wait for it. I got an email and I haven't responded because I just didn't see until just now that says you need extras for Fun Day. I can show if you need.
Sure.
I think we got enough.
Elaine says we may have enough, but you might want to check with Angelique on that one, and just check in.
Yeah,
we always love having you there. You're
Yeah.
You're a great person and great spirit. So yeah, and if you were on set this time, you'd actually be allowed to breathe. So
Behind the mask.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, check in because we might be able to,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, and you'll get to see Dave Edison do his cameo as Murray Leinster, so that's
cool.
That's pretty great. He's going to be.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and some I'm memorizing my lines. I'm in a Shakespeare play for we're doing Midsummer.
Great.
Oh, fun.
And I'm doing Theseus. And I got
Fun.
double cast as flute.
Yeah. That's
funny.
great. That's great. That's fun. Yeah, it's a really fun play, and if you've never seen the Max Reinhardt film from the 30s with Jimmy Cagney and Mickey Rooney and so forth, it's a wonderful, wonderful production of that. And
Olivia de Havilland.
yeah, it's just wonderful. I mean, it's got so many great actors doing a terrific job.
Yeah.
And Max Reinhardt was one of the great directors of the Weimar period. And so yeah, absolutely. So anything else you need?
And I did karaoke in a room full of 100 people. I did
Oh,
Uptown
really?
Funk, and
Wow.
I'm a terrible singer.
Yeah.
But I got the crowd going, and they
Yay.
all applauded. So
That's great.
how can that be wrong?
That's
right?
great.
So,
No, absolutely.
fun.
The 3 cheers for you. Well, it's great to see you as always. 3 cheers, Ian. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, and the thing about karaoke, it's all about showmanship.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I did a bit of karaoke on my cruise last week, and I didn't hit all the notes on some of the songs, but boy, did I bring the house down.
Yes. Well, that which also speaks to the fact that there's 2 different kinds of bad. There's bad, which is boring and uninteresting, and then there's great bad, which is someone who doesn't necessarily have the skills, but they're coming with such energy and such joy and such everything. They're bringing the show. And that's why when people talk about some of the cult favorites. The reason they're cult favorites is because they have style, and they may be weird, but at least they're weird in their individual way. Whereas there's tons of really bad films that nobody remembers, nobody cares about because they're not interesting. So there you go. So go ahead, Adam, please.
All right, let's go with the Scott Baker question.
Okay. Hi, Scott.
Does your belief as to whether the seat of consciousness lies in a mechanism of the physical realm or in another level of reality figure into much of your science fiction writing?
Read that again.
Right. So
and let's find out if Scott's been doing mushrooms. But go ahead. Yes, please. Yeah.
So does your belief as to whether the seat of consciousness lies in a mechanism of the physical realm or in another level of reality?
Yes.
Does that figure into much of your science fiction writing?
No.
Doing karaoke.
No. I mean,
very different from karaoke.
Basically, as much as I'd love for there to be an afterlife, and as much as I'd love for there to be a soul, and for the mind to survive the death of the body, I don't really see any evidence that I believe is persuasive for that. I always say that if there's an afterlife, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But so it's not really an issue I touch upon. What I really touch upon, a theme that's been through my work forever, is the people that others view as invisible, the people that others view as those that you can do anything to because they don't matter. And so issues of slavery, issues of freedom, issues of the rights of every individual to be treated with respect. Those are issues that are major to me, very, very important. And but in terms of the constant question of the soul versus the brain, the organic brain versus the mind, those are things that are interesting to me, but I don't really go into a lot of that stuff, huh? So there you go. So, okay, so now I guess it's Elaine's turn. Wonderful Elaine. Yay, she's on the mend.
On the mend. So I've
Yes.
been laid a little bit low.
Yes, and for those who don't know, Elaine had shoulder replacement surgery 2 weeks ago. They put in metal and plastic, so
Yes,
so don't get her mad because
Don't get
she'll
me mad.
pop you one.
Yeah, I will.
And
well, not a lot. Just did some promotional materials for a project that my DP is working on, and I'm thinking of suing Judith Smiley for alienation of affections
for our dogs,
for
because
our
she's been looking after our
because she's looking
dogs.
after dogs, and our dogs just adore her.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they won't want to go home to us anymore.
No.
No.
So no,
Little
I think
bastards.
that's because I've been laid up a bit. That's a little bit up. That's about it for me. So
Yeah.
But
But
thanks for being here.
yes, but unlike most people on the mend from surgery, she's actually directing on Monday.
Yeah.
But it's only a one-day shoot, thank God. So, but Elaine's doing great, and she's wonderful to work with, and a joy to behold. And I'm happy to be with her. So, so Adam, do you have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, let me get it up here. Here we go. We got another question from Juan Suros.
Great.
He goes, how about ancient races in sci-fi, from Forlons to Bajorans? Any opinions on the subject?
Yes, that does actually interest me. I mean, the first, I think, awareness of it in a science fiction movie is probably Forbidden Planet with the Krell, and they're great. And so there we have the Ema in Space Command. That's an ancient race where we haven't seen what they look like. They're just, we've just seen what they've left behind. I'm also really interested in the whole notion of intelligent dinosaurs. The fact that if they hadn't died out, would they have evolved into a sentient species? If they didn't, actually. It's also very interesting to me that mankind has been around for several million years, and yet we've only had civilization, quote unquote, for like 10,000, if that. And so there's the question of why didn't we have advanced civilizations earlier on over that enormous span of time? I mean, Homo sapiens, people like us have been around for over 200,000 years, and yet it's only the last few thousand, just a little piddling final
they're backing
bits.
that off, it's
Yeah.
coming in earlier and earlier.
Yeah,
now.
but not 30,000, not 100,000. So it's interesting questions. So yes, those are of interest to me, and so that's the answer to that. Yes, I am very interested in that stuff. And okay, great. So now I guess it's me, wonderful me. Yes. Well, so thank you all for being here. It's great to have everyone here. In terms of Space Command, we are ramping up big time. When I stayed overnight in the hospital with Elaine, and that was really good to do. I was glad that I was able to get her what she needed and make sure that no one came in and did anything untoward.
Oh God, no! We
and
went
all
to
of that.
St.
Well,
John's.
no,
St. John's is a
but
wonderful place.
Elaine, every now and then there's some nurse who's out of her mind and it's like putting patients out of their misery, and we don't want that. So, but the point is, so while I was staying with Elaine in the hospital, I thought it would be amusing if I locked down financing for Space Command while I was in the hospital, because I've been talking with one of our investors. So I managed to close a deal on $450,000 while staying in the hospital with Elaine. So that was pretty fun. So we plan to shoot a lot in the upcoming year, and our studio's up and running. And I'm, in 4 years of art school, I can make things like this, multipass. And so, but we're going great guns. The plan is to shoot a lot, shoot the full season of Space Command, shoot the pilots of the Showrunners Network. We're talking to an agent at CAA, and we're talking to an executive at Netflix. And as I said before, the new book comes out next month. And golly, it just keeps going. And
450. The 450 isn't one lump sum.
No, it'll be portioned out over the year, so it's not like I can go out and buy a Bentley or anything. But but yeah, it's but it will allow us operating capital so we can actually plan moving ahead. And that's not the only money I hope to raise. Needless to say, I want to sell these shows, but also I've been talking to Rocco Bannon and Ryan, Husk about a crowdfunding campaign for the Sweet Haven pilot. And so that's definitely something we're going to be doing. And then beyond that, my friend Brandon Sanderson has just had the most amazing Kickstarter campaign of any human being in the history of the universe, where he's raised, in just a matter of days, he's raised $26 million. And that's an amazing campaign. So I'm looking to see if I can set up an interview with him for Mr. Sci-Fi to talk about how he did that. And he's a novelist, a very interesting man. And, so we'll see where that leads. But, so it's just, things are wonderful and no complaints. And something's coming in the mail that I'll tell you guys about when it arrives. It's pretty fun. And we're just having the time of our lives. Elaine, is thrilled, and I'm thrilled. And on the set that we're putting together, that was going to be shooting on Monday, is going to look spectacular, thanks to Dave Edison and our poster artist, Jeffrey Hayes, and Stan Rutledge, who does our printing, and Andrea Miraglia and Massimiliano Trevis, and all the wonderful team. I can't wait. So that's sort of the main stuff for now, I guess. So I think we've come to the end of our little tete-a-tete here. And someone threw out this amazing stand for a Sony Trinitron that's very futuristic. So we're going to be integrating that into our set. So Andrea is coming momentarily to load that into his vehicle. It's a bit heavy, so I didn't want to foist that on you, Bonnie. So, to schlep that to the studios. But so that's about it for now. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Make sure you get on the table email if you're not on it, and stay safe, stay warm, stay connected, and we'll talk again next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night to my friends on Mr. Sci-Fi. Take care.